I know you're all muted, so I messed up, but I just want to thank you for being here today for today's Driver Education Advisory Committee quarterly meeting. I also want to welcome anyone that might be. Hold on, we're still adding people.
Can you mute the sound when people come in?
I believe so.
Can you just unlock the doors, let everybody in when they come? Let them come and go with no sound? Good question.
All right. Carl, you ready to go?
Locked and loaded.
Okay. Just as a reminder, this committee advises and recommends to the State Board of Education how to implement the North Carolina Driver Education Plan and other issues related to driver education and traffic safety. I'm Devin Tanner. I'm the chairman of the North Carolina Driver Education Advisory Committee, and I now call this meeting to order. If at any time during the meeting you have comments, go ahead and just speak clearly into the microphone in your computer so it can be recorded, as this meeting is recorded and archived. If you are in the audience and you have questions, please wait to be recognized before speaking. Go ahead and use the chat if you'd like to be recognized for a question. Our agenda and materials are available online through the DPI website at www.dpi.nc.gov on the driver education section page. So if at any time you need to recall anything that's gone on in the meeting, read the minutes, see the PowerPoints, those types of things, all of that will be posted on the driver education section page. The meeting is also audio streamed through a link located at the bottom of the Driver Education Advisory Committee page. I am now required to read an ethics statement as required by the North Carolina Department of Instruction. Committee members are reminded that it is our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and the appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the committee. Does any member of the committee know of any conflict of interest or any appearance of conflict with respect to any matters coming before us in the Driver Education Advisory Committee meeting? If so, please state them for the record. If during the course of the meeting you become aware of an actual or apparent conflict of interest, please bring the matter to the attention of myself, the chairman. It will then be your duty to abstain from participating in discussion on the matter and from voting on that particular matter, if there is a vote. Okay. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call, and Cindy Taylor will be taking charge of that roll call. So if Cindy, if there's someone you don't hear correctly, go ahead and feel free to chime in. You'll have the opportunity also. You've had an opportunity to review the proposed agenda from today's meeting. Has everybody received the agenda and been able to look it over for today's meeting? Is there anyone that has not? Okay. Also,
my name is Craig.
Okay. All right. I received your message. Nelson will make sure we get that agenda to you.
Attendees will not have only the committee members would have it sent before the meeting.
Okay. All right. So only committee members. Okay. I appreciate that, Carl. Thank you. Okay. So when stating present for our roll call, please also state if you have a motion to approve the agenda. So you would state your name and that you approve of the agenda. Okay. Cindy, if you want to go ahead and begin the roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. Devin Tanner.
Present, and I approve.
Thank you. Kathy Short.
Present, and I approve.
Dr. Brandon Simmons,
Present, and I approve.
Jeff Moore,
Present, and I approve.
Carol Ann Hudgens, Sarah Martin, Mark Azell, Stephen Lowry, Paul DeLuey, Michael Newsom,
Present, and I approve.
thank you, Dr. Shanae Flood, Captain Troy Pope,
Present and approved.
Mark Shepard, Martin Rickman,
Present, and I approve.
Craig Uzel,
Present, and I approve.
Marvin Smith,
Present, and I approve.
Natalie O'Brien,
Present, and I approve.
Doug Eller,
And approve.
and last, Wyatt Smith.
Wyatt will not be joining us today. He had a commitment at school he could not get out of.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Mr. Tanner.
Okay, Cynthia, I do see Mark Shepard here on the list, and he did chime in and say that he did not receive the agenda, and therefore I imagine that's why we did not get an approval from him. But I do see him here on the list.
It's on the screen.
Yep.
Okay,
So is Mark Shepard present?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So is Carol Ann Hudgens, did Carol Ann respond?
I'm here and approve.
Thank you.
Carol.
Is there anyone else who is on the advisory committee that did not hear their names, or maybe you just came in or did not receive the agenda?
This is
Okay.
Morgan Mitchell, and I'm just logging on. I did receive the agenda, though.
Okay. Are you in approval of the agenda?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much, Cindy, for that. I appreciate your help with that. And at this time, we're going to go ahead and do an approval of the minutes. Now, Carl, do we need to go back through a roll call, or can I just do an overall approval of the minutes?
Get a motion in a second and ask for if there's any corrections. If not,
On the minutes or on the
on the minutes.
Okay, so everybody should have received the minutes at this point. Is there any are there any approvals, or I'm sorry, are there any corrections that anybody feels from last meeting's minutes that need to be adjusted? If not, may I please have what I'll ask you to do is just state your name when I ask for a motion to approve the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting?
Doug Eller, approve.
Motion.
Okay, Doug Eller with the first. Do I have a second?
Mike Newsom, second.
Okay, everyone in agreement, if you could just say aye.
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 All right. Thank you. Are there any nays? Perfect. Okay. Moving on. We'll go ahead and let our NC DPI update, and there is some discussion that he needs to have with us as an advisory
Okay, Mr. Chair and Vice Chair Short, committee members, and driver education stakeholders, we trust that all of you and your family members continue to be safe and healthy during this pandemic. We are well into another school year facing challenges to educate our teens in traffic safety. DPI is pleased to provide you with a brief update in a number of areas, and I'll be asking my staff to assist me appropriately. First of all, the agency is still working remotely, and we will continue this until January at least. I'm very proud of the staff, as working from home has not been impacted has not impacted the production in any kind of way. They are truly champions. And you can still stay in contact with us via our office phones, which you can find at our numbers on our email signature lines. And at the end of this presentation, I'll have Cindy and my email address. Or you can email us or even call us on Microsoft Teams. Next, this is a budget year coming up. The General Assembly will be reconvening in January. DPI is preparing budgets and submitting these through the proper channels, and we'll keep the public school units informed as we move forward when possible. Since COVID, we have needed to seek solutions to assist PSUs in our state-specific standard driver ed curriculum that's just been produced, which allows flexibility in delivery methods. COVID has increased our need for remote, virtual, or distance learning. I guess also at some point we'll need to define or use a similar term that everybody understands and everybody can agree on what distance learning or virtual or remote instruction is. Our efforts are to provide the support for districts as soon as possible. So without objection, Mr. Chair, for the sake of time, we're going to provide appropriate updates for the subcommittees, kind of intertwined in our
There are some steps that ITS will need to take before we can move forward, but that is the projected date. Yammer will be deployed in December to assist with onboarding our new teacher cohort that begins in January. And then I project DAC members will be added to Yammer communities in January as well. So this concludes my report regarding program communication and technology. And so I welcome any comments or questions at this time.
Committee members, any questions, comments? Remember, if you're not a committee member, if you will submit your question in the chat and then with your email address, and we will respond to you via email. Thank you, Amelia. Moving right along. Cindy's back. Great. Angie Stevenson, one of our teachers for our STEP program.
Good morning. My name is Angie Stevenson, and my experience is with curriculum instruction and working with driver education for 13 years. Currently, we are involved in Driver Ed 3 with approximately 70 teachers across 3 cohorts. They have completed the Driver Ed 1 and 2 courses and are now entering the final phase, which will complete around December 14th. This has been a really exciting adventure for all of us, and all of us have learned a lot about digital platforms, working across remote instruction, and we also have one cohort of mentor candidates, which is also on the same timeline. We plan to, as Amelia just mentioned, start spring cohorts in mid-January, and our goal is to hold multiple cohorts, which will include areas of need and also areas that have interest in training new instructors. Some comments from current candidates that have been really interesting is how they have learned a lot or been reminded a lot about driver education when they took it, what has happened in subsequent years, and also looking back through the DMV handbook and some of the training that they've received around North Carolina specific practices and laws has been a good reminder for them, which will certainly continue to prepare them to be good examples and strong instructors. Also, we've worked very hard on making content engaging and relevant to the type of audience we have today in our young people and in basically the world we live in. And so that has been very helpful as well. Additionally, we have been developing in the curriculum instruction side a digital resource guide that will be made available to instructors around the state to provide them with some updated and vetted materials that will accompany the student curriculum that we have recently piloted, and it will also be made available to the instructors that are going through the program so that they can have some good materials to get them started and perhaps help them become more engaging in their instructional planning. And that is basically my kind of overview if there are any questions.
Very good, Angie.
Real quick question for Angie. I'm sorry, Carl. It's Devin Tanner. The 3 cohorts of 70 teacher candidates, are they kind of spread out throughout the state, or are we looking at teachers from one or 2 particular counties?
I would say they represent a good overview of our state, and probably someone else can address that a little more specifically, but based on the ones that I'm working with, they do represent various areas.
That's great.
Reggie, can you address that? I know Reggie's on here on how the selections were made.
Yes, thank you, Carl. Yes, there are well representation from all across the state. We have both in-house and commercial school provider LEAs who have members in these cohorts. We also have quite a few people who are interested in participating in the spring, and we have tried to make sure that we meet the needs of the LEA by involving the LEA coordinators heavily in the selection process to make sure that we are teaching the people that they need to assist them with their driver education program statewide.
And again, this is Devin Tanner. I just want to thank Reggie and Angie for all of the hard work on this. This all started before COVID, and it just could not have come in a more timely manner, I think. So I just thank you guys for all the hard work on this that you've been doing. It's greatly appreciated, and it's going to prove very, very fruitful for our program moving forward, as I already know of instructors who have decided to take their retirement because of COVID, and so these new teacher candidates are going to be desperately needed. So thank you.
Thanks, Reggie.
Hey, Reggie, let me ask you a question. How will it work when they get through with taking this class and they work for a driving school? Will they have to take the 100-question test? Will they have to go through their requirements once it gets on their teacher license? Or will they be waived and be able to start working for a driving school?
We'll have to defer that to the Western Traffic Safety Section, and I think Paul was not able to be here today, but there was someone that was going to attend in his stead. Is that person here on the line? School Bus and Traffic Safety. I know, Craig, that they are working on a process to update their admin code, and I've been asked some specific questions here recently. I don't know of the process after they finish the program and they're going to work for a driving school. I don't know that process yet.
Because I know in the past, when you had the 096, all you had to do was take the test.
Yes.
And then, and then you have to, do the application and the physical. But I didn't know if the test was going to, and then they would have to, and then they wouldn't have, the DMV wouldn't have to ride with you or anything since you were 096. So I didn't know if it was still going through that process or if it was going to be waived or what the situation is. And the second question is, when will they be through with the modules and the online class that we can move forward? Because I mean, I know that we do need some guys here where we are, and I'm hoping that they can hurry and get through. So,
Rich, you can answer the second question first.
Okay, we'll be done with the coursework on December 14th. And there is a process to do the student teaching practicum, which consists of the 30 classroom hours and 24 behind the wheel hours that is required by the State Board of Education for 096 licensure. You can start that process, Craig, as soon as the participants receive a certificate from us, and we will provide that as quickly as we possibly can at the conclusion of December 14th. Of course, we do have to have a few days to grade those presentations that they will be doing. They have behind the wheel actual videos that they must produce for us so that we can go through and evaluate those to make sure that these folks actually meet the criteria for behind the wheel training. So as soon as we possibly can, we will get those certificates to you, which will allow you, if you're an in-house LEA, to utilize that in helping the cohort participants meet that goal, and also as you as a commercial provider provide that certificate to DMV to let them know that they have completed our course so that you can go through that process at DMV.
So it will be added on their license, or when we get that certificate, we can show that it's going to be added on their license.
Correct.
Okay. So once we get that certificate, we show it to them that's going to be added to their license, and then whatever the process at that time.
Again, the certificate says that they have completed the coursework, and to get the 096, they must do the student teaching component.
Right.
And so that lets you know that they finished the coursework required. And the student teaching component is an additional component of well above what is currently required at the DMV for licensure. So any paraprofessional, we're working on toward a paraprofessional license for those bus drivers and people like that who are interested in teaching driver education. And if you are a current teacher, you certainly want to try to get that 096 added to your certificate.
And you'll send, when y'all do the next one, y'all will send some more information out. So if we want some other people to take it, that we can sign them up as well, I assume.
Yeah, that is coming very soon, Craig. And right now we have well over 100 people already interested in the spring. So if you have somebody, go ahead and contact Cindy and let her know that you want to add some people.
I will. I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
All right. We appreciate you guys trying to utilize our services, because we do see a need for new teachers, and we're doing our very best to accommodate especially in these trying times. We're trying to do the best we can to meet the needs of the LEAs.
Thanks, Reggie. One additional follow-up, Reggie, regarding the, I don't want to say a shift, but we want to use all of the tools that are available to teachers in today's times, and technology is a major tool that can assist teachers. Would you say that these teachers that are going through this now have a better feel on a tool such as a Canvas or a learning management system, and remotely?
Yes, Carl. We have had to alter the course from the way that it was originally designed, and so having that flexibility now, as teachers are going through, they are presenting to us virtual lessons. So the course itself does prepare, especially those who have not had experience with that. And we do have quite a few teachers who are utilizing virtual learning in their LEAs. And so transferring that to going through this driver education program, we are able to work together, and they are able to help others learn how to use the technology. So to answer your question, absolutely, it is effective, I think, at this point in helping them learn how to teach in a virtual environment.
Okay, thanks, Reggie. And also, I know that there's at least one district that has found the benefit of teaching remotely is that one teacher could actually teach 3 different classes in one day, where they're teaching from a 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9 block, and which increases the number of classes that can be taught in a short period of time, being that you're not locked into the normal 3 to 5 time block in a traditional setting at their school location. So it's provided some opportunities for additional accessibility for students, which is exciting. Something we kind of, I guess, a benefit of COVID kind of threw us into that. So that was nice to find that out. So so creativity is among us. Let's see here. Moving forward.
Carl, this is Marvin Smith. May I comment on this before we go further?
Go ahead.
Okay, I had an experience. I had Mr. David Wall, who went through Reggie's program, DPI program, their excellent program, and became one of the mentors. But before I could get him licensed to work with me as a private commercial school, the only thing they recognized was the certificate, like their 80-hour course. I had to fill out the paperwork, send it in, application, check, and then they still had to observe him in the car and in the classroom before they'd move him to a personal license. So that's the way that system's working presently.
Thanks, Marvin. As I stated before, Paul was not able to be on with us today, but as they move forward, they are aware of all of the requirements for our program, and once they are able to update me on their processes, I will get that out to everyone. Our goal is to streamline this to where it's the same for everyone. And we were working with DMV to cut down on the duplicate processes. I keep stealing the commissioner's words over there, but they're very, very on point to eliminate the duplicate processes. And any way we can do that, we'll be doing that. So in just a few moments, we'll hear from Mike Newsom and hear more about how we're working with the driver license folks. All right, moving forward, I'm going to, Marvin, I hope that I'm not cutting you off, but anyway, that we'll let you all know once we find out more from School Bus and Traffic Safety, okay?
No problem. I just wanted to share that with the gentleman that asked the question about what happens after they come out with the 096.
Right, right. Getting back to where Angie was, Angie is a perfect segue into the curriculum section, so we'll go right into that with Miss Tanya Eastwood.
So, again, I guess I'll be speaking on the driver education and traffic safety program, the pilot. Mr. Logan, will you go to the next slide? Okay. So currently we have 5 counties that are participating in the pilot, and those counties are Catawba, Johnston, Lee, McDowell, and Orange. Originally, when we did our Canvas instance and we were doing a pilot, we only purchased 500 additional accounts. So they are at $3.74. Currently, we have already trained 1,400 students. We had some counties that had, I guess, that had a wait list, and so of course it's already exceeded the expectation in which we had anticipated. So that's why, to answer the question about when can someone else come on board, that's kind of, we're already at our max just at that one semester for fall for the pilot, and then moving forward for spring. And so we do, however, have because the accounts are $3.74 each. I'm not sure, I'll let Mr. Logan have this, and these can be sidebar conversations after today. But if there are some counties that may be interested and they have the ability to pay for those additional accounts, that may be an option for you to participate in the pilot. But again, that'll be a sidebar conversation for outside of today. Some of the feedback that we have gotten from the course is they love that the course's uniformity, and that once the teacher is inside, they don't really have to come up with what they're going to teach. It's already a solid foundation that everything is the same. And they just have a different teaching style. Angie also worked on a pacing guide that we will also be sharing once we complete our lessons learned that we have scheduled. We plan to have that to get the feedback from the pilot groups, and then to share that information out to make sure that, you know, we don't run into the same roadblocks in the spring. In addition to that, the program actually supports one of the requirements that was by OSBM, which was making sure that we had a statewide standardized course, and they wanted us to collaborate with DMV in order to do that. And so this lays the foundation for that. One, we already have the standardized course due to the agreement that we have to house it inside of Canvas. Once we changed it from the format that they had it on, which was CD and paper, and we shifted it and digitized it and placed it inside of the learning management system. So because of that user agreement, it allows us to do that. We have been asked if we could put this on the individual instances of Canvas, and however, we cannot because we don't own the content. It will violate the copyright infringement laws. So that's why it's in our instance of Canvas. However, the LEAs have been very receptive to this, and they've been really excited. We have run into, you know, some of the problems with the students password resets and things of that nature. But what we are doing is leveraging and using their student IDs, things that they are currently used to already. The schools are currently for registration purposes so that they were not overwhelmed with technology. We are using Google Docs to do registration. So we do have Canvas catalog, which is a registration process, but we did not want to overwhelm the community. So we have not fully implemented that component. We are having conversations with Johnston County as well because of their parental program, and the parental involvement piece is one of the things, one of the last things that our team has not completed based on the list of requirements that we were working through to make sure that our team at least gave us a solid foundation. So we will be working with Johnston County in conversations for the spring just to learn more about what their program does and figure out if there is something that we can do to leverage what we currently have and to allow the parental component to be a part of this in the pilot with this pilot group. So those conversations will happen in the spring. We also may reach out to UNC to get some additional conversations going as we're scheduling those meetings, but there'll be more to come as it relates to that. Right now, I think that's all that I have. As it relates to the student curriculum, I am excited that the driver ed coordinators, they have been amazing at embracing the technology and making sure that they submit the information so that we can do the registrations. It has been extremely busy, but it's been really fun. And the teachers are so excited about it. And it's been a pleasure to actually get to serve many of them. And as we are serving them, the rest of the team is also getting to learn. So there's no way that I could serve all of those without Cindy and Amelia helping me out on that. So, but that's pretty much where we are. And we're looking forward to the spring semester.
Thanks, Tanya. Do you have any comments that have been made by teachers that have been using the program?
Most of the comments were they love the uniformity. They liked that they didn't have to think through the content because the content was already there. It was easy to use moving through it. They did like the fact that we used a voiceover video from students. It made it more relatable, and I think that was something Amelia designed. And so that might be something they may want to see more videos. They did like that they had the additional resources that were already there, and it was their option as to how they implemented it into their course. They also like the fact that we digitized the content and it was the class, but we did not tell them how to instruct their class. So they were still in control of their classroom, just in a different environment. And so they can pick and choose how they wanted to add any additions in their course. They have leveraged a lot of the resources and the grading. So they had to get used to the grade book, but once they did, they thought that was great. And then the challenge that we have had a few challenges, you know, connectivity, you never know. And that was why we was piloting it. So some students may have a connectivity issue versus another, but other than that, they have really embraced the technology and has moved forward. But everything that I've heard so far has been extremely positive. And then they also commended us about the response times as it relates to their support questions.
So just to highlight it again, the flexibility that the district has on how they use this is completely up to them, correct?
Yes, how they teach it in the class is completely up to them, like how they pull those additional resources in. So it's still them teaching in class how they always have. It's just now they have the content in a digital format. That's all.
So it can be used in a blended or traditional or a hybrid or any of those formats.
Yes, the blended option is one question has come up from students because they do realize the content is something that they can possibly do on their own. And so a few students have asked, why can't they just do it on their own? And so, of course, Cindy had to respond, you know, what the state law requires and why they have to have a teacher present to teach because that's the requirement for driver education. I Was there anyone else? I think that was one of the one of the other things that the students did have. Oh, there were some students that played sports that were excited that they could still take the class because now there are some classes that are offered later in the afternoon after they would have completed practices or whatever. So whenever they go back to, if whatever our new normal will be, they will still be able to participate in driver education and not have to wait.
Thanks, Tanya. That's very good. I will
Hi,
take,
Mark. I see your question. I think it's cost, and that probably is a sidebar conversation. And Mr. Logan may speak to this a little more, but we are trying additional avenues to figure out how can we make sure we can roll this out to the state without incurring additional costs at the LEA level. However, we haven't been able to get there yet, but we are trying. We do hear you guys, and we think about you guys first as we're planning this, and we hope that everyone gets to use it. We think it is a great program, and we think that the state would love it, and not only that, our state, but other states as well.
yes, we're about actually almost a year ahead of schedule or need to be able to launch this because of COVID. But this was our goal all along to give the district flexibility and to provide a standardized curriculum in a digitized or a learning management system. So again, just to reiterate what I mentioned a few minutes ago, I had a meeting just yesterday. We're trying to work on alternative funding methods to get this out to you immediately and without delay. So we're going to figure out how to do that, and we will keep everybody in the loop as soon as that occurs. All right. I will take a moment just to brag on the staff here. As you see, they've been quite busy. They have done a lot of things without me even knowing they have done it. So, oh, look what we've done. But I will say that when you put a lot of teachers together, lots of times you have a lot of great ideas. But the moving forward in projects is critical. And Tanya Easterwood has been our project manager. I think that she'd like to kill most of us most of the time, but she always gets it done. So thank you, Tanya, for the hard work that you've done, as well as the rest of the staff, Angie and Amelia and Cindy, with organizing our staff here, and Reggie, who has provided a multiple of expertise and experience in this organization and administration of this section. So thank you all. Next up is some DMV collaboration. As I stated, Paul was not able to be here with us today, but we do have Mike Newsom, who is one of the chief examiners for the driver license section with the Division of Motor Vehicles. Mike, you want to give us a little update on what's happening there?
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Greetings from DMV. Although we have several efforts in DMV currently, I'll brief just a few in the forefront. As Carl mentioned, there are quite a few things that we're starting to conversate in realigning the driver's ed program with the requirements for the provisional licensing program. So the first of which is remote testing, otherwise known as the student online testing with DPI collaboration. This is a concept that's nothing new. It was introduced probably a year or so ago back, but currently we are in key development of the evaluation proposal process now. Once this is complete, we project to kick off the negotiation and the RFP stages sometime in early December, after we've had the opportunity to gather more input from DPI and other relative stakeholders. Hopefully from there, by March or springtime frame of 2021, we can move forward with securing a contract and starting the requirements process. Right now, tentative completion goal is set for the third quarter of 2021, with go live pilot sites at designated schools to be determined. Of course, this is all dependent on any potential vendor adjustment. So again, this is the student online testing project with DPI collaboration. And so next on the table, we have the CRT, which is a mitigated road test that we've started as a result of the challenges with the pandemic. On October 5th, 2020, this year, we implemented the contactless road test, otherwise known as the CRT, at 14 driver license office locations across the state as a modified process to continue promoting and following the social distancing guidelines. However, due to limiting staffing and service availability, the CRT is only offered to those customers who do not qualify for a waiver under the current provisions. And as I think everyone knows, the governor as well as legislature has provided some provisions in order to allow us to waiver certain road test requirements. And so some of the examples of those that would qualify to receive the contactless road test would be anyone who previously failed a road test attempt at an office. Some of those are governed by legal or lawful presence. And then those that had their driving privileges suspended previously prior to the credential being expired. So those are just three of the examples where individuals would qualify for the CRT. Currently, my colleague and I are looking at those individuals that previously received the level 2 provisional license. House Bill 158 allowed for those individuals to be waived for the road test. However, House Bill 158 stipulated that once they return for their level 3 license, they would be required to complete the road test. So as it stands right now, those individuals will be required to complete the contactless road test. And again, that's currently at 14 locations. And right now we're exploring opportunity to expand that to other locations, depending on site capability around the state. And the last I'll briefly discuss is the House Bill 211 has certain provisions to expand DMV online services that was implemented this past Saturday, November 14th. And so one of those extended services is giving drivers who are renewing the capability to change their residential address in the process of doing that online transaction. So previously, I think most are aware that once you go online to renew your driver's license, that's what you did. You could renew it, but you could not change the address. That would be a separate transaction or required to do during an in-office visit. So now with that implementation this past week, you are now allowed to renew your driver's license online and change the address if needed. So another functionality with the 211 this past weekend is allowing holders of the full provisional license to convert that to an original Class C driver's license online. Whereas previously, as you know, the team that held a full provisional license would have to visit a driver license office, provide the driving log in order to either upgrade that. As you know, the full provisional is not renewal, so they would have to upgrade it to an original license. Now this service may be done online. And so there's more details on that online with that service as well. And so the final functionality added, along with the full provisional expiration, is now extended 60 days past expiration. As it stands now, full provisional licenses expire on the individual's 21st birthday. So again, that date has been extended automatically 60 days following the 21st birthday or expiration. And so those are just a few of the initiatives that DMV has in play right now as we continue to maneuver through the pandemic with challenges. We're just trying to create a means to provide a service to all of the public, whether it be licenses, ID card, or permits. Subject to your question, that's all I have.
Mr. Newman, this Newsom department, it's Marvin Smith. Could you explain how the CRT works?
Basically, it's a test that's set up. It's a static exercise set up at a driver's license office, typically in the parking lot. And it consists of just basically the maneuvers of doing a 3-point turn, right turn, left turn, the vehicle inspection. So the actual on the road driving has been eliminated in order to contain the test right there at the site. And the biggest takeaway is it's not required to have the examiner in the vehicle with the driver. So again, stop sign, all the basic maneuvers are still in play, with exception to just the on the road portion. So far we've been very successful with that and meeting the criteria for testing. Again, we're going to try and expand that to other sites. At this point, I can't say whether this is something that's going to become permanent in the future or not. We're definitely exploring that possibility.
Mike, how long does that test last?
Takes probably about 10 minutes. Probably about a couple of minutes to do the inspection, and the actual maneuvering takes about anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. So roughly about 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. I will say this, that working with Mike has been a pleasure. It's been great to collaborate with him on a number of things, or be able to pick up the phone and just chat with him about a lot of things. So I do appreciate yours and your new cohort over there to on collaborating and working together on this. So I look forward to continue doing that. Does anyone else have any other questions for Michael?
This is Devin Tanner, and Mike, I know this is, as examiner, this may not be in your wheelhouse, but you might be able to give me a good name or contact information. A lot of questions I get from around the state, and especially up in the mountains area, is that they're having just the roughest time with their eye checks. And here in Wake County, we're really lucky to have Fred Garner and a great team here that, we've been doing it for a while and everybody's kind of in a groove, but I'm still getting questions as to, or comments about how they're unable to get eye checks done in a timely manner. Is there somebody over the state, and somebody or a contact information that I can get a hold of to kind of let them, get some of these people in touch with them to try and get their eye check issues taken care of?
I would have to refer you to Paul DeLuey.
Okay.
And I know he's not here this morning, but previously we tried to assist that with our in-office visits. But I tell you now, due to the restraints, with the pandemic, we're only allowed to house 50% currently capacity, and that's for customers in an office. So
no, I understand.
We've been on an appointment only system, but we're trying to expand to an express type service that might allow for some of this. So I definitely circle back with Paul and just see where he is on that. And if there's any opportunity that we can open our offices once again for that, especially in that area, then we'll do so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Any other questions for Michael?
This is Marvin Smith. I do have one other concern I'd like to speak about. One thing I've been giving to the parents of students when they go get their permit is a link to the app for Road Ready to be able to keep the 60-hour driving log, so they didn't have to carry a form with them. They could keep it over the phone. But our local offices quit accepting that because it said it did not account for daylight savings time. Have you heard anything on this?
No, sir, I haven't, but I will investigate that. I will tell you, typically, once the student, arrives at the office, we must provide that in print so that we can scan it into our system. So that's been the challenge with, them having it on their cell phones and whatnot. But as far as daylight time saving or something, that's something really minute. I don't think as a major problem. And so I'll kind of dig into that. If you have any more specific information on that, send me an email, and I'll definitely iron that out for you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I will do. They print out a PDF form and take a print copy with them when they go over there. But I'll email you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks again, Michael, and thanks, Marvin, for your question there. Moving right along, I'm going to kind of put Natalie with UNC Highway Research Center on the spot again. Do we have any updates on the parental involvement program, Natalie?
So I wasn't prepared to share anything, but I can say that my colleagues and I just recently got funding in October from the Governor's Highway Safety Program to continue to work on the program that we have developed for parents. We're going to be creating which is I guess timely with the pandemic, resources that will be available for parents online to access. And we're also going to be partnering to test out materials with insurance agents across the state and hopefully car dealerships, focusing on how to help parents select the safest vehicle for their teen. And also along the lines of what we were just talking about as far as like tracking practice hours, we have some resources for parents on how to help decide when their teen is ready for a license, beyond have they just done the 60 hours. So those will be some online resources, but we'll also be pilot testing these materials around the state and locally in Wake County.
Thanks, Natalie. That's good news.
Yes, very good news.
Very good news. That's hot off the press, huh?
Yes.
Are there any questions for DPI from anyone? Again, if you're not a committee member, you can put that in chat and we can, with your email address, and we can respond to you regarding that. If not, Mr. Chair, I will yield back.
Unmute myself here. Okay, at this time, I have no old business to report. Is there any old business amongst the advisory committee that feel needs to be brought up at this point? Okay, and then with that, I want to go ahead and get into the new business. We've got about 45 minutes left, so I do want to end this meeting by 1 o'clock. I know we're all busy, so appreciate you guys hanging in there. At this time, I want to talk about, and Carl's going to be involved a lot in this again, some policy adjustment needs or areas to consider with regard to policy adjustment needs. And a lot of this has to do with COVID. Local teacher physical requirements. I wanted Carl to go ahead and address the local teacher physical requirements as a possible adjustment need.
Okay, there are a number of items that we'll be submitting to the committee members to that need to be addressed. Obviously, in this day and time, there are litigation is a very prevalent action, and that we want to avoid any kind of possibilities of not providing guidance to you all regarding such. So that as we move forward, there'll be a number of items that we will be bringing up before the board or for this committee for to look at adjusting. The one that I put on the screen here today, the one that we need to get kind of a consensus on so that we can move this out to the coordinators, is that I did have a request from one of the coordinators that asked for at least a COVID relaxation of the behind the wheel policy by the State Board of Education. Currently, Drive 004 subsection 8 states that the behind the wheel instructors may not allow instructors to fewer than 2, no more than 3 students in a car. The request has been to relax that to no more than 3 in a car, but if you have less than 1 in a car, excuse me, less than 2 in a car, you would need some kind of process to ensure the appropriate safety. And without objection, if we would, well, excuse me, if you could open the floor for any kind of discussion on that, if you'd like to. This is something that most likely needs to move forward somewhat quickly. We can get to the State Board of Education for approval to do that.
This is Devin Tanner, and I can tell you in Wake County, we have around 87 behind the wheel instructors. We have 50 on the road right now, and we're driving, and they're not driving the normal amount of students. So we're driving about half the students that we normally drive right now. And I can also tell you that we are at this point driving 1 student at a time. as the chairman. I suppose I hate to admit that to the advisory committee, but I talked to Carl when this all went down and let him know, I took a survey of the drivers. We would have no one to drive our students if we made them drive too. And so I kind of, Carl can't vouch for me, and I understand that, but I told him I was going to ask for forgiveness later rather than permission, because I would not have been able to get my instructors back had I not relaxed that requirement. And so that is why I am the one that has asked Carl to see if we can't relax this during COVID to make it safer. There was some research initially from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia that came out in March or April, and their best practice was to limit students to just one at a time to contain or to reduce the risk of getting COVID-19. And so using those tips for safely reopening driving schools from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, I went ahead and used that advice.
Is there any discussion on this potential proposal?
This is Rick from Cumberland County. Me personally, driving one, that's a big liability. It don't take but one male or one female to say something that's either true or not true, and that instructor is going to lose his job. So I'd say no.
And Rick, where I agree with that,
yeah.
We are, number one, we haven't had any problems. Our parents are signing an affidavit.
That's correct. That's great.
And we have had some parents. We have had some parents request a female driver for a female student, and in that case, we let them know we will accommodate them. It might take an extra week to get them behind the wheel, but we do accommodate those things.
Okay, that's good. I'm scared to death.
All I know is I've got 50 drivers out there, and I'd probably have 5 if I did not, after having taken that poll. We have enough drivers and our drivers are an aging population. And so they're already, a little bit on edge, but a lot of them, it supplements their living. And for some, it is their living.
Devin, this is Marvin Smith. One thing I've done is purchase dash cameras for all the driver's ed cars, and that would quell a lot of concern for parents.
Marvin, if you could do me a favor and send me the link to your vendor, that would be great. I think that's a great idea. Cameras in cars.
Yeah.
So just to reiterate, what the proposal would be is still to have no more than 3 students in the car, but local boards of education may allow instruction with less than 2 if there is a process to ensure appropriate safety. Committee members, the floor is still open for discussion on that.
In Wayne County, we went to our guys, our leadership team, and asked them if we could drive with one in the car, and they said no, it's too much liability, and they didn't want us to. They didn't agree to it. We wanted to, so.
I do know that currently this is an allowance with commercial schools when they're not operating under a school contract or a public school contract. If there's no other discussion on this, Devin, what we can do at DPI is send out a survey and survey the districts, coordinators, and get their feedback on that. However, I will say that the policy could be that it is left up to the individual district during emergency times or emergency situations such as COVID.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I don't see any other type of emergency or have come across any other type of emergency that would elicit this kind of reaction from me. But having used the research from the Children's Hospital and using what they see as their best practice, that is what that is what I am using.
Okay. All right. And to clarify, this proposal the request did not come from Devon this morning. It came from another district. With that, Devon, we don't have anything else on the agenda wise. If you'd like to move forward with any open discussion on anything else.
Okay. Let's see. You've talked about classroom curriculum, renewal credit recommendations. One thing that I did want to talk about is if you're not a member of the Southeast region for ADSEA, they normally hold a conference in February. This year it was to be held in Myrtle Beach. They have recently sent out a survey asking people, are you planning on attending? Would you attend virtually or would you actually attend at the convention center? It seems the majority of their responses are, yes, we want to attend, but we want to attend virtually. Normally, that's a conference that is 12 hours of CEUs. It'll only be 2 days for 4 hours a day, so this time it'll be worth 8 hours of CEUs. But it is an inexpensive way for you to get your people some credit hours. That's the Southeast Region Association, so SERA. Sarah, and it's part of the Southeast Region affiliation of ADSEA. More recently, ADSEA has also now sent out a survey about their summer conference, which is supposed to be in Knoxville, Tennessee, with similar questioning. When I got it, it came in my junk email, so you might want to check that if you've not received it, if you're a member of ADSEA. Otherwise, we can send out information about that as well. I don't know, that just came out, so I'm not sure about the results of their survey, but it is supposed to be in July in Knoxville, Tennessee. So that's actually drivable from here. It's about a six and a half hour drive from Raleigh is where I'm at. In the mountains, even closer. As far as the NCDTSEA, the North Carolina Driver Traffic Safety Association, we are actually going to meet tomorrow. I'm also the president of that board. We're going to meet tomorrow and discuss further about our April conference that is normally held in Clemens near Winston-Salem. Normally we get, between 250, 300 people at that conference. But as it stands right now, we couldn't legally even hold the conference in the state of North Carolina with that many people. So we will be discussing a virtual alternative for that as well. As it turns out, with ADSEA having gone virtual and the leadership of the Southeast region been involved in helping with that, it is a lot more difficult, believe it or not, to do a virtual conference. It's just a lot more work. And so we're going to have to kind of be learning on the fly with regard to those things. But with regard to getting CEUs this year, those are some options to look into. I know that it looks like the Southeast region, which was to be held in Myrtle Beach, will now be held virtually. That's going to be a fairly inexpensive registration. And then at the ADSEA National Conference is also sending out survey to look to see whether or not they should go virtual. So that's kind of the update with regard to renewal credits, as far as I know. Is there anybody else that has any other information on those conferences or anything else that we might be able to earn CEUs from to get our teachers their certifications?
Devin, if I may, I got an email from ATSEAL this morning regarding a survey on planning a mid-year professional development series. I'm not sure if this is just going to be for ATSEAL members or not, but they are in the planning stages because of the situation we have with professional development, to make sure that we are getting some type of credits. They are looking at providing some mid-year professional development series. So this is the first, again, that was sent an hour ago. So I'm not sure exactly what the timeline would be on that, but I'll certainly make sure that everyone is aware of that as it moves forward.
Okay, thank you, Reggie. And you just reminded me of one more thing. As I spoke with Connie Sessoms, he's on the board for ANSTI, and they on their website they do have some videos that are available for us to watch. They're worth 0.03 CEUs, so not a ton, but a little bit, and they will provide a certificate of completion for completing that video series and getting those CEUs. So visit the ANSTI website, and if anybody is having any problems finding any of that information, feel free to email me or Connie Sessoms up there in Mecklenburg County, and we can point you in the right direction. That is all I have with regard to new business. Is there any other new business that needs to come before the floor? Okay, at this time then, I'd like to go ahead and thank everybody for attending the meeting. Cindy, thank you for hosting, and Tanya for everything you've done. Carl, for all of the great information and for the great discussion. Carl, can you give us the date one more time on our next meeting?
Yes. I have to go real quickly here to
Third Wednesday, February, or third Tuesday in February. Is that right?
yes, it is, and I will give you the date. What I believe Cindy has sent out a calendar invite to everyone already. If not, we will do that. It's February the 16th.
February the 16th. Okay.
Right.
All right. Perfect. So at this point, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Please state your name.
Doug Eller.
Doug Eller. With the first, do I have a second?
Mike Newsom, second. Mike Newsom, second.
Mike Newsom.
Okay, Mr. Newsom, second. I believe that's all we need, Carl. So at this point, this meeting is adjourned. We will see you on February the 16th at 11 a.m. Thank you very much for coming in and being with us. Thank you.
Thank you all.